My friends, thank you for tuning in. If you are new to this channel, we are dedicated to all things movies and great TV shows. I'm here with my friend Brandon, and we are going to dive into Thor: Love and Thunder. So Brandon, let's talk about it.
Was it worth it? Spend the money to go to theaters.
I think this one is a safe yes. It's worth the money. I think every once in a while, with Marvel especially, it's like a cinematic event kind of, and I'm glad I went and saw it in the movie theater. What about you?
So I don't know about your current home situation, your TV setup. I know when I go home, I've got a near 60-inch TV. I've got surround sound.
Yep.
I can cancel out all the other noises. I've got a great situation. Honestly, I felt like I could have watched that movie at home. I don't think the stage this was set for, this grand cinematography that you just had to look over here and then look over there. No, everything was kind of, centralized for the most part.
That's so interesting that you say that, because I don't know if you know, Ben Affleck, one of the reasons he actually felt like his Batmans were not a success, he partially blames TVs.
Correct.
And the most recent film that he did, the Last Duel or whatever.
Yes.
One of the reasons that he blamed was TVs. Like, people have these bomb-ass TVs that they can...
Why do we want to go? Well, so that was the whole thing during the pandemic. It was just like, gotta love HBO Max. They're giving me a brand new movie every month and I can just sit at home and watch it versus, not having to go out amongst the crowds and pay an exorbitant amount of money. I could just sit at home. I could pause it freely. Don't have to worry about Joe Schmo and them over there or some unruly kid a few rows up. Was I happy I saw it? Yes. After seeing it, would I have paid money to go watch in theaters? Probably not. But I get how you're saying Marvel movies are spectacles. Yeah, because they have that tip of the iceberg type of funding that not every project can do, and they've got that talent level, not only let alone actor wise, but people behind the screen that are going to add into all these other things that we don't really think about. So I can see how it is always nice to see how are they doing. How can they beat what they currently just did? Where else are we going from here?
I think I'm glad I watched it. It was a very funny movie,
After seeing the movie, it was funny. Do you feel like the trailer spoiled it at all?
No. I think the trailer did fine, just enough to pique my interest. Christian Bale as a bad guy, I think, did a great job. But I would say the trailer did the film justice, did not ruin it. What are your thoughts?
You weren't, a little upset by finding out, oh my gosh, Natalie Portman's coming back, Jane Foster's back, and she's a Thor now?
Yeah, that's a tough one. That's a tough one.
Are you a Marvel comic reader? Do you know about how the comics go?
I would say I occasionally go down these YouTube wormholes of the Marvel comics. I personally am not going out and buying them right now.
Right.
But yeah, I think they probably could have saved Natalie Portman. I think maybe they put her in the trailer for the sake of marketing, and it's a big name to market, and so I think that's why they put her in there. But I also think, when Mjolnir or whatever goes to her hand, they could have just left it at that and not shown who it was.
Okay.
And
Gotcha.
The trailer leaves us there because now we're like, holy crap, I need to watch who else is capable of holding this hammer.
Right.
And so with the trailer, you're right, they kind of did spoil it a little too soon. Did that piss you off?
I just think how cool there's all this nostalgia in movies. They're trying to bring back these people that started this original franchise way back when. So
Yeah.
Natalie Portman, she was one of the original cast members of the first 2 Thor movies. Did those 2 movies fare too well? Personally, not for me.
Yeah.
But and she's a big name. Huge Star Wars fandom for her. I think, like, okay, we all knew, based off the success of the most recent Thor movie, Ragnarok, I would have been in line to see this movie regardless had I known Natalie Portman was in it or not. Just because Taika Waititi, that director, I think he's phenomenal. I love watching his films, his TV, and just since he took the reins over from 3 to 4, like, yeah, I'm down to see what you've got. You know, knowing as the comics how they go for her, like, yeah, you knew they're going to try and bring Jane Foster back into the fold at some point, especially with the whole, you know, woke culture at the moment. You know, we want to give some females their due. Jane Foster, Mighty Thor, you know, she's a pretty badass. She's a badass who happens to be pretty, not that's trying to watch my P's and Q's right now.
Yeah.
But overall, I feel like the trailer slightly spoiled the movie. It would have been cool. Just think about that as, you know, a grown-up fanboy. You're just like watching Thor, and he sees Mjolnir, and out of nowhere, Mjolnir doesn't come back to him. And yeah, like you're saying, I think the trailer would have been really cool if it just showed the hand like grasp Mjolnir, and then like we have no idea who the person was.
Yeah.
And just to think like, holy shit, Natalie Portman's back, like in a Marvel movie after how many years, where they've just thrown little one-liners to write her off, nothing really of substance or all, you know?
Yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point. I think it's pretty valid, and I had kind of forgotten. But yeah, I think if they held that, you know, it's kind of like an ace up their sleeve.
Correct.
You know, maybe they could have delivered it later, or closer to the release date or something. I don't know. You're right. I think it just didn't even need to be in there at all.
It's like, don't get me wrong, it's cool to see what is this movie gonna entail, but I think some of the best parts about, you know, going to see a film in the theaters are not knowing what you're fully going to get.
Right.
You know? And that's kind of, while it's nice to have your own little environment private from everyone else, the cool thing is like being in that theater with how many other people, and like everyone is just collectively shocked, like, like.
It's a good point. There was no major shock factor.
Like, okay, so referencing to Endgame, you know, and Captain America gets to like pull Mjolnir. Like, okay, we've talked about this moment for how many years as a Marvel fan, ever since Age of Ultron 2, and you see like it's slightly budging, like it's kind of moving, but nobody confirmed that, like, yeah, Captain America's gonna lift Mjolnir and like smack the crap out of Thanos for a little bit. But when we all saw that in a theater, myself included, yeah, my jaw hit the floor. I was all about it, dude.
I was a little nervous because we watched this Thursday night, and the Thursday night crew is usually pretty loud, pretty like, oh my God, you know, just clapping and boisterous, and but there was none of those moments, I guess, and maybe this Natalie Portman reveal could have been
something that would have added to more of a shock value, rather than like, okay, now we all know Natalie Portman's going to be in here, so now everybody's going to speculate. If you do know, like, her character arc in the comics is like, yeah, she has cancer, and like her picking up Mjolnir like only worsens the progression of that. So is she gonna...
Spoilers.
Oh, well, that's her comic book. But all right, so after watching that, what would you give it? Scale of 1 to 10, where does it sit on your spectrum?
So I think it's good. My only problem lately, like when people rate movies, I think they rate them like too fast in the moment. You know what I mean? Like, oh my God, this movie is a 10 out of 10. You know, and people forget, like, dude, a 10 out of 10 is like The Godfather, you know, The Godfather Part 2, like these...
The Godfather, The Departed.
Yeah, like, stuff like that. That's like a 10 out of 10.
On the, you know, your guide, you're like, okay, I'm stopping what I'm doing. I have to watch this right
exactly.
now.
And so this movie is good, and like...
Okay, compared to Marvel movies.
Yeah, so like, compared to Marvel movies, I think I'm giving it a 9. I liked it. Like, overall, I think total movie score, like, compared against every other movie that I've seen in the world, it's probably like a 7.8. Like, I liked it, but it didn't blow me away. I'm glad I watched it, but that's where I put it. It's a 7.8 overall. In the Marvel world, it's probably a 9. What about you?
Grading this movie against other Marvel movies, I don't think I can give it the 9. Sadly, just
no 9. Huh?
I give it an 8.
And this is purely in the Marvel world.
Purely in Marvel movies. I don't even know if I have a Marvel movie rated as a 10 out of 10.
Wow. Okay.
Just, but like great Marvel movies in my mind, like Captain America: Winter Soldier. Like, I'm sorry, that might arguably be my favorite Marvel movie.
Okay.
And also I can't help it. Robert Redford in a Marvel movie, like, sign me up. I'll go watch that any day of the week. But no, I'd give it an 8. So I guess both of my scores are probably closely similar, even grading it around, all other movies entirely. I'd go 7.9. I give it that C+ grade. I think the comedy was there. It was awesome. The actors, they did the best that they could do with what they were given, I just feel like it was lacking, like, in the third act of the movie, having, this huge battle scene, which, again, I know that's been a lot of the other, negatives on Marvel movies. Third act having this huge CGI battle. But the thing is, you also like to have that gravity of the situation, like, oh my gosh, Thor's going against a god butcher. This should be something that, like, I'm sorry, we saw him take on Surtur. I hope, was that his name in Ragnarok? Who devoured Asgard and may or may not have killed his sister. We don't know yet. Is she really dead or not? She could still come back down the road. Like, it wasn't like a devastating event happening. It was, I get that there
wasn't enough build-up for you.
Yeah, which, again, this kind of leads into our next topic, actor performances. Christian Bale. I'm arguably one of the biggest Batman fans on this earth. I love it, and I'm a huge Christian Bale fan. I think he killed it for what they showed, but I felt like there could have been so much more. It was just this is Marvel's shortest movie yet to date, and is
it?
I thought that was. This is supposed to be one, or maybe not their shortest, but one of their shorter movies for sure. Did it
someone
even
in the
hit 2
comments?
hours?
Someone in the comments, please. Please correct us. Yeah. I think you're right. I think Christian Bale, just as I've gotten older, he was always like Batman for me. Growing up, like, hey, here's this badass actor, great Batman. But as I've seen him in more and more movies, like Ford versus Ferrari, or even this now, like,
dude, that's a good one.
I'm giving my range award to Christian Bale. Like, the homie has some range.
Hold on.
He has some range, dude. Like, I'm like, and I know there's other actors out there that have range, but
Gary Oldman.
Yeah, Gary Oldman definitely has range, but I think Christian Bale is someone that I've grown to appreciate a lot more.
Oh, for recently. Sure.
But I think he did great. But I think I get what you're saying. Like, he wasn't badass enough.
I just feel like he wasn't featured enough. Like, when he came on screen, his arc was just played out so fast. It was quickly just him and his daughter languishing there in nothing, on this desolate planet. Yeah,
and then he just decides he wants to kill everybody.
Yeah.
It wasn't enough of a build-up for you, it sounds like.
I get you want to be able to build your villain and empathize for what they're going through. And again, I'm not saying, oh shit, a single father and a starving daughter is like, that doesn't hit my feels. But at the same time, you're in here for this sci-fi intergalactic, drama that what Marvel presents us for.
Yeah, that's a good point. But I don't know how much say he has on the acting or what dialogue and stuff.
Right.
But I think
For what he had,
for what he was given, I give Christian Bale like a 10 out of 10 for sure. What are your thoughts on like Chris Hemsworth?
well, obviously all the LGBTQ and women out there are going to want to know. This is the first Marvel movie that shows a half-naked man, and of course it's going to be the most fit guy on the roster, Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah, I wonder how that came about. I mean, was that presented to him as part of the script, or did they think it would be funny? I don't know.
Well, the funny part was his wife apparently, I think they were trying to cast her for like a Playboy movie. Or no, Playboy wanted to do the monthly shoot on his wife. But because that pertains to nudity, he said no to his wife, and she was okay pulling out of that. But here he is in a Marvel movie doing, half nudity. But
his butt.
Just his butt and his pecs, pretty much. It is what it is.
Yeah. So, I mean, how many millions of people do you think have seen the trailer? How many millions of people?
In that one trailer where it shows that alone?
Does it show his butt in the trailer?
It's blurred out, but
in the movie.
Oh, I can guarantee a lot of people I would guarantee would just go to see Chris Hemsworth. I'm not gay, but hey, great if you are. But it's quite a sight to see. It makes you think you need to go back to the gym for a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
Just a bit.
Yeah. What percentage of people do you think Chris Hemsworth, they believe he's all natural?
Dude, I'm sorry. That's a lie.
Well, no, but dude, so convincing my brother-in-law that The Rock takes steroids was literally like a 10-year journey. Like, he refused.
But he finally believes.
But he finally believes that The Rock takes steroids.
We all get over Santa Claus not being real, but at some point you have to know.
But and I'm not here to say that Chris Hemsworth doesn't work hard. Dude. Like, homeboy is super dedicated to his health, his fitness, putting in the work. But I think there's a lot of young guys who see this movie and they're like, I want to be like Chris Hemsworth, so I'm going to download his Center app or whatever. And
his little workout thing.
Yeah, his workout thing. And then when they work out in 2 years, they're like, why don't I look like Chris Hemsworth?
Well, also, he probably has a private chef that's, making sure everything's all copacetic and getting to the guidelines for his diet needs. And so...
he comes in the movie looking pretty good, though. Just...
Well, the movie starts with him as Fat Thor, which... R.I.P. I'm going to miss that for quite some time.
I thought there would be a little more of a journey. I don't want to dive too deep into that yet, guys. We'll jump into that in the spoiler section.
So we've talked about Chris. Natalie Portman.
Mm-hmm.
This is her first big blockbuster movie in, gosh, I don't know how many years, like maybe a decade. Correct us if you like to. Feel free.
Yeah, I'm sure. Hopefully, a Natalie Portman fan puts you in your place. And, I hadn't seen her in a long time, and I think, time flies, dude. Like there's definitely moments in the film where I'm like, damn, we're older now. Because I even said before, like Natalie Portman, was definitely like celeb crush. And still kind of is at certain times.
What young guy didn't like Padme?
Definitely grew like.
She turned a guy to the dark side, for Christ's sakes. Like, come on.
But I think she did great. I think all of her performances, like every time she was on screen, she did a great job. I have like no complaints about Natalie Portman at all. Do you?
She was fierce and tough when she was Mighty Thor, and she was able to be, susceptible and weak, when she was back as Jane Foster. Unfortunately, not trying to, come down on her, but she was trying to showcase that type of, person that's going through cancer treatments and is just, I could understand how going down that path, things aren't fun and happy. You know, it's a little dreary and kind of looking for some semblance of hope, something to, you know, give you a light at the end of the tunnel, which that was what Mjolnir ends up being. You know?
Yeah, yeah. And then I think lastly would be Tessa Thompson.
Miss Valkyrie.
Yeah,
King Valkyrie.
King
Yes.
Valkyrie.
Sorry.
Watch it. I like her a lot. It's interesting. I feel like most stuff that she's doing, she's being casted as kind of like this, tough girl thing. So I don't want to see her fall into the same trap as the gal from Fast and Furious. What's her name?
Letty.
Letty.
Michelle Rodriguez.
Yeah, Michelle Rodriguez.
Yes.
So, like, I don't doubt that Michelle Rodriguez could have range, too. But the problem is every time we see her in something, she's usually like...
Dom's ride or die.
Yeah, Dom's ride or die, or like... and like...
Yeah. In the freaking Resident Evil series, which I don't even know how she showed up in there. It just happened one movie, I guess.
Yeah, and so I just don't want to see that happen to Tessa Thompson.
Have you watched Westworld at all?
Yeah, I'm not...
Tessa Thompson's in Westworld. She's a very pivotal character that is so cerebral. I don't even know if she's her original character or a clone of this other girl, Dolores.
Yeah.
Please, help me out on that show.
Yeah, I mean, and she's probably becoming like a Hollywood favorite right now.
For sure.
I think there's a lot of studios that are looking at her and they like her. I think she does a great job here, and hopefully we get more of her.
Well, so one of the funny things is when we first see Tessa Thompson in a Marvel movie, it was Thor Ragnarok as Valkyrie on whatever the planet, that the Hulk was, being the most awesome gladiator run by Jeff Goldblum and whatnot, and she's drunk. But the funny part was, if you look back to Iron Man 3, that whole destructive story arc for Iron Man was supposed to actually be heavily involved with alcoholism. But due to Robert Downey Jr.'s previous life, they didn't showcase that at all in the movie. But then fast forward, 6-8 years, here Thor Ragnarok, we're showing a drunk superhero, but it's Tessa Thompson, she's a badass also doing it. So
interesting.
I just think it's kind of funny. Marvel, please clarify the situation.
That's interesting. I did not know that, and that's why I brought you on, dude. You know these things, man. So, what do we have next, though?
Much has been speculated, and even the directors and the cast members have stated that this is the gayest Marvel movie to date. And I mean that purely not by describing something, just by the actions that take place in this movie.
No, but they said it themselves, like the director, that interview, someone had asked, how gay is the movie? And then I think it was both he and Tessa Thompson.
Even Natalie Portman, I'm pretty sure all of them could to come out just say, well, when you watch the movie, you've got not love triangles, you've got, like a Chinese love checkers. It's just I don't know how many points of views of all these people in this similar situation, whether it's not even a person, it could be a hammer, it could be an axe with Thor.
I think it wasn't that gay. I was a little nervous because I think everyone knows there's maybe some Disney agenda going on right now about the LGBTQ plus community, and I never saw Lightyear, but from what I've read about this kissing, if my understanding, it feels very forced in certain situations. But I think there are certain jokes in this movie that they go for, but it doesn't feel forced. And so that to me is a big indicator with movies is does this moment feel forced? And I think with this movie, none of that felt forced. It all flowed well. So I don't think it's that gay.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. What parts people may conceive as gay, I just found funny. Like Thor,
But I think they're also very intentional.
Well,
Like,
yeah.
that's not you being like, haha, gay people.
Right.
It's like, that was also their intention.
Like Chris Pratt trying to tell, Chris Hemsworth, when you get lost in life, look to the people that you love. And as he's looking to the Guardians, and then Chris Hemsworth is just like, meh. Some people could be like, oh, why does they look at him like that? But honestly, it was just kind of like more, hey, this guy's trying to be serious. And like Thor's just like, well, what about me over here?
Yeah. But no, I think overall, like, in my opinion, to sum up, not very gay. The stuff that might be quote unquote gay is intentional, and most of the time it's to be funny, but it's not making fun of the gay community.
No.
And it all flowed well. So that's how I feel about that piece. With that though, should we hop into spoilers?
I think before we get there, one of the probably the biggest things that I can say is awesome about Marvel movies is their soundtracks. Where do you think they stack against other Marvel movies that have happened to date so far?
So I think, like, I watched a big breakdown of this. If you look at, like, the Dark Knight series with Hans Zimmer, that's everyone, you can hear the song in your head.
Yeah.
Can you hear a Marvel song in your head? Maybe the Avengers one, the dun, dun,
well, yeah,
dun, dun,
a
dun,
score,
dun.
right?
Yes.
But so, I see where you're saying. So I feel like Marvel movies have more, not really, had some original score created for their content. They've more capitalized, like pairing their content with music that we know and love. I.e., for example, the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. I think arguably they have two of the best soundtracks to go with any movies ever.
Right.
But you know what? I also think like with Thor Ragnarok and then this new one, like I think he's done a really good job. Like, I love Guns N' Roses. I'm a huge AC/DC fan. Can't stop wearing my tank top.
I'm not gonna complain. I love the 80s vibes that they have going on. I do think though that the one trap we kind of run into is that, like, Thor has now kind of become this light-hearted hero.
Well, but so that was also why the first two movies didn't do so hot.
Sure.
Because, people were just like, here's this God who's ignorant of, living amongst humans and trying to help us out. When, him being an ignorant God versus him being like a comedic God, there wasn't much of a degree of split in between those two roles. Like, he's gone from being serious to now just being more like, I'm living my life. Like, it is what it is.
Yeah, and so I think, it will be tough, though, down the line if they want to try to do some, like, super serious moments with him. I think it'll almost be harder.
Well, we got super serious moments in Infinity War and Endgame.
Yeah, we did, and they handled them well, I think, but
we're talking about Thor 4.
Yeah, well, and I think just like Thor-specific movies, it's hard to flip the switch from lighthearted all the time to now we're going to be super serious. Mm-hmm. And so, but yeah, I think the soundtrack is good. I have no major complaints, and yeah, like I said, I'm overall very happy that I watched the movie.
Mm-hmm. Well, that breaks down our non-spoiler questions.
Right. So, warning, we are about to hop into spoilers. If you have not seen the movie yet, maybe click pause, come back to this right after you watch it. But we are going to dive in to spoilers right now, Easter egg stuff. And so with that, Brandon, what do we have lined up first?
First question on the docket. Guardians of the Galaxy. The last time you see Thor, right after Endgame, he leaves Earth, going with them. So you think, like, maybe this movie's going to be almost
Guardians and Thor.
Well, think about, there was Captain America Civil War. There wasn't the Hulk. There wasn't Thor in it. So what? Now is this going to be like a Galactics team up between, Thor and the Guardians, and they're going to have this shared adventure. What are we going to see?
Dude, I personally thought the Guardians weren't in the movie enough.
Oh.
How long was it? 10 minutes?
Maybe.
Like...
It was very... Well, so that was the pacing of this movie was very... Especially the first act of the movie. So fast. Like, he's Fat Thor when he starts. 8 minutes later,
Sure. Yeah. Well, and I remember they did talk about this in for Endgame, that it was important that Thor fought the final battle still fat, because they didn't want him to have his weight be associated with him being worthy.
Yes.
Which I'm fine with. Hey, yeah, he's still worthy at the end of the day because it's who he is as a person inside. I'm fine with that.
His physique that showcases.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
But I do think maybe he became too fit again too soon in this one. Is that kind of what you're alluding to? Or
I'm sorry. It was just one of the cool... I never thought in my life, I could see Chris Hemsworth dressed as the dude. And
I thought you were about to say naked.
Well, we can get back to that topic.
But yeah, dressed as the dude.
But dressed as the dude, just popping beers, and he's playing Noob Master 69, and he's getting pwned by this guy. I'm sorry, haven't we all just had that day, on a random Saturday? You don't have to go to work, and you're like, hey, I think I'm just gonna play video games.
Only Saturdays for you?
Right. Yeah, sometimes it's a Sunday. It might bleed into Monday. But I just enjoy, because you can really see the realism behind. It's not this whole Hollywood mirrors and makeup. Oh yeah, you have to be peak physicality to be
sure.
It's it's very. You can still be somewhat normal, but still have a great presence behind yourself.
Yeah. So are you fine with the transition then of him from how fat, he went from fat to fit in 2 minutes?
With the way they were trying to do, the movie was told as if it was a story from Korg. So,
Yeah, sure.
He's, again, so there's going to be these quick transitions, whatnot. So I can see why, for the movie's sake, it works. But again, just for fans coming in, I don't know, I love Fat Thor. I thought it was hilarious. I'd be down to even see him do a whole movie as Fat Thor. Which I guess we did in Endgame. But
yeah,
so
true.
Here we are on this new one. But the question at hand was the Guardians, not so much in the movie, which I felt like I would have liked to see them, because I really liked the rapport between Chris Pratt and Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah, the on-screen chemistry was there.
They're very funny.
Yeah.
And, also just have a few other questions about what's the current status of the Guardians right now, because do they have Gamora, do they don't? But we'll get there on a whole nother one when that next movie comes out.
Yeah, I mean, I almost felt like it was a pure tease. I don't know, it just...
it gives you a little bit, leave you wanting more, and, like I said...
Sure, and here we are talking about it now.
Exactly.
The fact that they weren't in enough, and now we're craving another Guardians movie. But
I've been since the last one's done.
Yeah, but I think it was just kind of short-lived, and it happened so fast. So I was just wow, okay, all right, we're done with the Guardians now, and we're on to the next thing.
Well, the big part of the trailer was the Guardians were heavily featured in the original trailer.
Yeah, so I want to sue Marvel for false advertising, dude.
It's not a for sure thing.
But that's my take on the Guardian situation.
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments if you've seen the movie. Do you feel like they got enough screen time? Was the transition good enough? Love to hear what people think there.
We've already talked about, the tone of this movie. I'm pretty sure, viewers as well can agree. We both view this as being a very funny movie.
Yeah.
But was it lacking in anything serious-wise? I know we alluded to Christian Bale.
Yeah, I think that's why. Christian Bale took care of that kind of. But I think this kind of just goes back to my point earlier about it's going to be tough to take Thor serious now,
after these comedic adventures.
Yeah, he all of his Ragnarok and this. It's very obvious that the comedy play is working, and so I'm sure Disney is going to keep going down this path. But it would be interesting to see like how can Thor get a little more serious. I guess I don't know. That's
how can he mature as a character rather than keep having this hazy outlook on everything as being like kind of almost juvenile.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment, I guess. But I don't know. Maybe I'm overanalyzing. That's the point of this, and let me know in the comments. Am I overanalyzing?
No, it's been quite a few days since we saw it. But do you have a favorite joke that sticks with you from that movie?
I think just the stuff with the hammers and like the axe.
The love triangle between a human and two inanimate objects.
Yeah, I think that's probably what's going to stick out to me the most.
It's very prevalent throughout the entire movie.
Yeah. And so maybe it's not a single moment, but I think just the one where like the axe comes like sliding in. Like,
right at the end.
Just so that sticks out to me the most. And I think that's probably one of those gay moments that they were alluding to.
And I can see that. And on mine that I still can't stop laughing at right now. The unfortunity of like seeing Korg, perish, but then his face is still there, and then talking about how he met another one of his species, and they went down to molten lava, held hands for 30 minutes, and it was a rock named Dwayne. I'm sorry that.
Yeah, no, that was good, and like I told you, that one totally slipped my mind, and so yeah, now I get why more people were laughing in the theater. Like when that happened on screen, I was just kind of, oh, that's funny.
And it was his old school mustache.
Yeah, and it was the mustache.
That's why I was just like, oh my gosh.
So,
Thank you for not spoiling that, Marvel. That was a good one.
Yeah. I think had I comprehended it at the time, I might have liked it more. But I was a little slow, I guess.
Hey, it was the end of a long day.
Yeah.
But we made
it.
All right, favorite joke, but favorite moment throughout the entire movie.
Favorite moment, if I had to pick one, I think it's Christian Bale, honestly. I think just like everything about him. I do think I am kind of in your camp that the final battle was not climactic enough, and
for a character to wield the necro sword,
And I think the final battle for me was also very predictable of, no, Natalie Portman, you stay in your bed. I'm going to go fight this guy by myself. You and I both know she's not going to stay in the bed.
Okay, but so this is my loophole. This is the one thing I also did want to talk about. Natalie Portman, she was back in her hospital bed.
Right.
Now, does Mjolnir have the power to summon the Bifrost? Because I don't think that was...
Yeah, how did she even get there?
How did she get there? Yeah,
it's a good point.
So the client, she was
got
in
there
the
in
hospital.
Like a minute.
So
maybe she just twirled that mother. I don't know.
In a perfect universe, I'd say so. Either that, or hopefully, for maybe she talked to Valkyrie, and like Valkyrie let her borrow a Pegasus, because apparently there's, they can open a wormhole that travels vast distances.
So yeah, that's a good. They didn't do a good job of explaining that there. You're saying
that's like the one thing throughout the movie, but like other than that, Thor coming to terms with losing Jane, I thought was like a very real moment that just about anyone in this world could relate to.
Sure, and that's a good moment of him getting serious, and you were able to take it serious.
Yeah, and also that kind of, it wasn't even what he didn't go to Gore and complain like not to have all the gods killed. Like he just told him to find love in this world, because honestly, that's really what we're all trying to do out here.
Yeah,
some of us, not everyone.
Deep stuff, man.
Yeah,
I thought like, and kind of going back to Christian Bale, like, he did a good job there at the end. The one thing that I'm sad about is like that they only got one movie out of Christian Bale. I was thinking this guy can be like another hero, dude. So
An anti-hero or something?
Anyone, dude. Like, he's a good actor. He's
Well,
got
so
range.
that's been one of the big knocks on Marvel movies is just having these one-off villains. Except if you're Loki, then apparently you can get your own TV series. So.
Yeah. So I guess that's my one thing is, like, I would have loved to see more of Christian Bale. I'm sure he's an expensive actor, so I don't know how it works in terms of, like, setting up deals with him and stuff, but it's a bummer if this is his last Marvel movie that this is all that we got out of him. Like, I think he could be a S-tier superhero, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, maybe they'll do Marvel Zombies and they'll bring back...
Don't say that.
Gore the God Butcher is a zombie.
Yeah. What do we have after that?
We've reached the end of our docket, folks.
This is kind of our last question, I guess, but I'm curious, what the people have to say. One, this is the first time Brandon and I have done this, so if you guys were fans, we'd appreciate you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It means a lot. The YouTube algorithm, blah, blah, blah. You've heard it all. But yeah, this is the first time we've done this, and I think this is the direction that I want to take the channel. It's a lot more fun, a lot more conversational, and I think it'll just be better overall. So let us know in the comments how we did. We are open to feedback, and we'd love to hear your suggestions. And then let us know in the comments, did you see the movie? Do you plan to see it, based off of our review? Do you plan not to see it? Are you going to hold off till home, like Brandon said, or do you want to go see it in the theater? And let us know your favorite moment in the movie, and we'll catch you in the next one. Brandon, any last thoughts?
Looking forward to our next big movie.
Next big movie. Let us know in the comments what you think our next movie should be. Peace.